Yesterday, one of the games I had an eye on, and I think a lot of football fans had an eye on, was the LA Chargers versus Cincinnati Bengals. Two sort of marquee games or marquee teams. It was definitely a marquee matchup. Two teams fighting for a playoff spot. Two young quarterbacks in their second year. Obviously, Joe Burrow, the first overall pick last year. And then you had on the other side Justin Herbert, who was drafted in the 5th round. It was a very sloppy game. The Chargers had a 24-0 lead, I think, at one point, or 24-point lead.
Yep.
Almost gave it up in the third quarter. Joe Burrow hurts his fingers. The game ends up being a little bit of a blowout. I think it turns out to be 41-22, but that score didn't really rectify or sort of, it didn't really show what the game really was.
Right.
So then Good Morning Football puts out today, do you trust either the Chargers or the Bengals? And I thought that was a really good question. And I'm going to just read some of the responses to that and what they said. So Dylan said, I like Staley and Herbert a lot. Love both these teams' futures, but got to trust the Chargers way more at this point. And I kind of do trust them. They have the playmakers on defense to make a difference. Hopefully they do it. 4.0 says, I don't trust either one. Don't know much about either team, to be fair, but that's mainly due to the inconsistent games and plays. Would trust the Chargers more over the Bengals if they didn't go for it on 4th down so frequently. More complete team on defense. R just says, I think they're both very similar teams in my opinion. They can both make deep runs if they stay consistent, but you can literally say that about every team in the league. Now, as I mentioned before, Joe Burrow did sprain his finger, but Ian Rappaport was reporting this morning that Joe Burrow is determined to play through his dislocated finger. So he didn't sprain it, he dislocated his finger. And then here was a reaction to that. Not PFT Bot says, it's great to see him do the right thing and play through pain. I hope he's able to heal well and that he's the only one out there with a dislocated finger. Good for him. And the response to that came from Nicholas Ray, who said, yes and no. A messed up finger on their throwing hand can really mess with the quarterback. And there's a certain point that playing through an injury is cool and all, but if it's hampering you that badly, you aren't actually helping the team by being a tough guy. So I don't trust either the Chargers or the Bengals, but I do give credit to Joe Burrow for playing through the dislocated finger. However, it's his throwing hand. I think it's going to affect him. But let me throw the question to you. Do you trust either team, one of the teams, both the teams to make a deep run? And what do you think of Joe Burrow getting it out and playing with a dislocated finger?
I think both teams are pretty good. I think they're solid. I think we'll probably see both of them in the playoffs. I would be very surprised if they made deep runs. I think that they're going to probably be wildcard weekend, one and dones, or maybe move on to the second round. But I don't see either of these teams representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I don't see either of them making it to the AFC Championship. I think they're good teams, and they should be taken relatively seriously. If they get very hot at the right time at the very end of the season and kind of, go on a streak, we've obviously seen that happen. But I don't predict either one of them are going to make it as far as the AFC Championship. As far as Joe Burrow's, I did see that. I saw that he was having a lot of issues with, I think it was his pinky finger. So now I know it was dislocated. Obviously tough. Good for him for playing through it. I don't know. He can tell you if it hampered him that much. And you get kind of into the situation where it's a catch-22 where you don't want to sit out and hurt your team. You want to be out there helping your team win. But sometimes if you're that injured and you're really not going to be able to play to the best of your ability, you playing at 70% might not be as good as your backup playing at 100%. So only he could really answer that, obviously. But, good for him for playing through it. But I don't know. Sometimes it's better to just rest.